welcome. Today we are reviewing the 18th Brumaire of Louis Bonaparte, or Louis Bonaparte, by Karl Marx. When was it written, by the way? It doesn't even say when it was written. That's monarchy 1848. Okay, when was it written? Here's the short answer. 18th Brumaire of Louis Bonaparte is an 1852 political essay by Karl Marx analyzing the 1851 coup in France and explaining the how class. Oh, okay. So explains how class forces, ideology, and historical repetition shape Louis Napoleon's rise to power. Let's begin some reading. Hegel says somewhere that the great historic facts and personages recur twice. Here, he forgot to add once as tragedy and again as farce. Causselier for Danton, Louis Blanc for Robespierre, The Mountain of 1848, 51 for The Mountain of 1793, '05, The Nephew for the Uncle. The identical caricature marks also the conditions under which the second edition of the 18th Brumaire is issued. Man makes his own history, but he does not make it out of the whole cloth. He does not make it out of conditions chosen by himself, but out of such as he finds close at hand. The tradition of all past generalizations weigh like an Alp upon the brain of the living at the very time when men appear engaged in revolutionizing things and themselves and bringing about what never was before. At such very epochs of revolutionary crisis do they actually conjure up into their service the spirits of the past and assume their names, their battle cries, their costumes to enact a new historic scene in such time-honored disguise and with such borrowed language. Thus did Luther masquerade as the Apostle Paul. Wow, what a writer. He mentions Luther. Okay. Referring to Martin Luther, of course. Thus did the Revolution of 1789, 1814, the French Revolution, drape itself alternately as Roman Republic and as Roman Empire, nor did the Revolution of 1818 know what better to do than to parody the one of 1789. What was the Revolution of 1818? Let's see. There was no major historical revolution known as Revolution of 1818. Strange. Well, that's strange. I'm not sure what he meant by. Okay, never mind. So apparently there was no revolution of 1818. Okay, moving on. Let's skip ahead. Bourgeois revolutions, like those of the 18th century, rush onward rapidly from success to success. Their stage effects outbid one another. Men and things seem to be set in flaming brilliance. Ecstasy is the prevailing spirit. Ah, ecstasy is the prevailing spirit. But they are short-lived. They reach their climax readily, then society relapses into a long fit of nervous reaction before it learns how to appropriate the fruits of its period of feverish excitement. Proletarian revolutions, also he's contrasting bourgeois revolutions with proletarian revolutions. On the contrary, such as those of the 19th century, criticize themselves constantly interrupt themselves in their own course, come back to what seems to have been accomplished in order to start over anew, scorn with cruel thoroughness the half measures, weaknesses, and meannesses of their first attempt. Mm. Now, to be clear, I'm not a necessarily Marxist or communist or political. I'm simply reviewing these books for their literary merit. And of course, Marx is obviously a writer worth reading. Observe the average intelligence. French Revolution. Okay, let's move ahead. Upon the bourgeois monarchy of Louis Philippe, only the bourgeois republic could follow. That is to say, a limited portion of the bourgeois having ruled under the name of the king. Now the whole bourgeois or bourgeoisie was to rule under the name of the people. The demands of the Parisian proletariat are utopian tomfooleries that have to be done away with to this declaration of the Constitutional National Assembly, the Paris proletariat allies with June insurrection, the most colossal event of history. Okay, no, was this book written before the revolutions of 1848? Let's see. No, it was written after the really. It was, if I remember, written in 1852, so the revolutions of 1848. The exclusive power of the bourgeois republic lasted only from June 24th to the 18th of December 1848. That is summed up in the framing of a republican constitution and the state of siege of Paris. The new constitution was in substance only a republicanized edition of the constitutional charter of 1830. The limited suffrage of the July monarchy, which excluded even a large portion of the bourgeoisie from political power, was irreconcilable with the existence of the bourgeois republic. Um, the French Revolution had forthwith proclaimed direct and universal suffrage. Okay, now is there two words, bourgeoisie or bourgeois? Let's see. Or are there two words? Yes, the friendly two stiff shells we have here. Bourgeoisie and bourgeois. Let's see. Are they pronounced differently, or is there a difference? Okay, let's see. Bourgeois. Let's go find. Okay. Versus any difference. Is there any difference? Bourgeoisie, bourgeois. Yes, bourgeois and bourgeoisie are related but not the same. Here's the clean distinction backed by search results. Bourgeois, a single person who is part of the middle class, can be an adjective meaning middle class, materialistic, conventional. He's very bourgeois. He has very bourgeois taste. Okay, bourgeoisie, an entire social class of property owners. Now, are they pronounced differently? Marx context means bourgeois. Okay, are they pronounced differently? I'd imagine one would be bourgeois, the other one may be bourgeoisie. Pronounced differently. Yes, bourgeois, bourgeois pronounced differently. Versus bourgeois ends with a soft joie. The final S is silent. Bourgeoisie ends with a clear Z sound. Ah, okay. Now that we know that the pronunciation is different, let's return. Um, okay, remove the yellow. The Republican Bourgeois Party, which is that the same? Wait a minute. Which long looked upon itself as the legitimate heir of the July monarchy, thus found itself surpassed by in its own ideal. But it came to power. not as it dreamed under Louis Philippe through a liberal revolt of the bourgeoisie against the throne, but through a grape shot and canistered mutiny of the proletariat against capital. That which it imagined to be the most revolutionary came about as the most counter-revolutionary event. The fruit fell into its lap, and it fell from the tree of knowledge, not from the tree of life. Haha. Yes, I like that. The tree of knowledge. Okay. Thank you for listening. Hope you learned something.